Hey, how's it going? Chris De Silva here, and today's React snack is all about state. So, before we dive into some actual code, sometimes it's helpful to think about state through an analogy. So, living down here in Texas, a lot of people deal with something called cedar fever, so some really bad allergies around this time of year. And so, some people are dealing with being in the state of feeling sick. So thinking about state as like how you feel, either I'm sick or I'm not. And so one common remedy for people is to take some allergy medication or get an allergy shot or things like that. So that's something that we can do, take some medication to change our state of feeling sick and all stuffed up because of allergies. So, how does that translate to code? If we look here, I've just got our standard create React app. I changed directories into my state and props and went ahead and yarn started it. So we can see here, I've just got a really simple app component with a button that's been centered through a little bit of styling. So got rid of the standard spinny React logo, put a class name of container on the div, added a button with a class name of btn, text saying dark mode, and then just to see the styling in the app CSS, here's my container styling just to get everything centered right in the middle, taking up 100% of the viewport height. I put a transition property, which we'll see here in just a little bit. My button just added some padding, don't really care right now how it looks. And then this dark class, which we'll get to in a little bit, which is going to set the background property to almost black. So that's all the styling we're going to deal with. So pretty recently, as of this year, now the standard is using state in functional components. So it used to be that if you wanted to manage state, you had to make a class-based component. You had to set up this whole constructor and set up state. And while you can still do that, a lot of arguments are to be made that functional components are actually a lot more simple and save you some code and make things a little bit more explicit and easy to read. So in order to do that, going up to my import React, I'm going to add a comma and then also import useState. And so this is how we're going to manage our state object in a functional component. So if I go inside, I'm going to set up my state and then I'll explain it. So we're going to say const is dark, toggle is dark, is useState false. All right, so what exactly does this mean? So the way that the useState hook works, we set up a variable, so the const. Our first item in this array is our variable. So if you're used to class-based components, it would be the same thing as, having your state object and then having is dark set to false. So writing this out here in your state object in a class-based component is the equivalent of having my variable here and then the corresponding value of false. Cool thing about React hooks is now I can define the method that I can use to change this state within that same array. So I call it toggle is dark because what we're going to do is flip this dark property off and on. And so toggle is dark is how I'm going to be able to change this is dark variable. So what we're going to do is every time we click this button, I'm going to add an on-click handler. And another cool thing about React hooks, not that you couldn't do this with class-based components, but it's pretty simple to just write an inline function. So I can put on-click, call my function toggle is dark, and I'll set it to the opposite of, so that's the not symbol, opposite of is dark. So what this is going to do is it's going to look at the value of is dark. Right now it's false. And anytime I click this button, it's going to update the state of is dark to the opposite. So in this case, the opposite of false is true. Then we set this to true. Next time we click it, it would flip it back to false. So toggle is dark, nothing's happening. Well, that's because we haven't set it up to do anything yet. So what I'm going to do is, notice back here in my app.css, I have this dark class. What I'm going to do is every time, I'm going to set this class name to be dependent on the isDark property. So what you do, I'm going to get this out of here, and I'm going to say isDark question mark. So it's basically just asking a question. Is dark true? If it is, then I'm going to have my class include the dark class. And if not, then it's just going to be set to container. So again, just to run through this really quickly, my class name is not going to be explicitly set. It's going to be dependent on isDark. So I wrap it in curly braces, and I say isDark, yes, then set it to container and dark. If not, then just set it to container. Give that a quick save. And now when I click dark mode, the screen goes dark. The background goes dark because it's applying this background property. Now, if you want to go an extra step, maybe I'm toggling this back and forth. That doesn't make sense if it says dark mode here and then it turns into dark mode and now the text says the same thing. So what I want you to do, pause the video and try to use this same method. So set up a conditional statement so that this text will say dark mode when the background is white and light mode when the background is dark. So it'll flip back and forth. Go ahead and pause the video, see if you can set that up. When you're ready, continue playing the video and I'll show you my way of getting there. Alright, hopefully that didn't give you too much trouble. So here's what we're going to do. Instead of just having this text at dark mode in the middle here, what I'm going to do, set up my curly braces to let me know that some JavaScript is coming. Then I'm going to say isDark question mark using my ternary operator. If it is dark, this text should say light mode. And if it's not, then it should say dark mode. Now, when we click, watch the background and the text, dark mode. Now it says light mode to turn light mode back on. And back and forth we go. Thanks for hanging out in this React Snack. Stick around for a little bit more. I'm going to continue this lesson with a little bit more about diving into props and how we can use this state to pass down props to a child component. See you in a bit.